You are welcome to Sourcing in Procurement and Supply. Unit 3, Tendering and Selection Process Content. Section 4, Supplier Pre-qualification. We will look at the reasons why appraising suppliers is of much essence in this section. We will also look at the reasons why suppliers are pre-qualified to be sure they can actually help meet the organization's needs. By the end of this section, we should be able to explain supplier assessment, identify the importance of supplier pre-qualification, prepare a sample pre-qualification questionnaire, and mention the criteria for supplier exclusion. Definition of supplier pre-qualification. At this stage, you all should be able to explain pre-qualification because we've been explaining pre-qualification since the beginning of this module. Pre-qualification involves initial screening of potential contractors, suppliers, or vendors on the basis of some criteria such as experience, financial ability, managerial ability, reputation, work history, etc., to develop a list of qualified tenderers who will receive the invitation to tender documents. So before even a supplier will make it to our supplier approved list or our supply base, we have to make sure that supplier is pre-qualified based on our agreed criteria that we use, which we've previously explained. However, we have some importance of pre-qualification, supplier pre-qualification. One importance is the assurance that the low bidder will be competent to handle the task without becoming overburdened. Now, we've pre-qualified all the suppliers on our list, right? So we know what these suppliers can do. We didn't just wake up one day and decide to put any supplier on our list. These suppliers have been pre-qualified. They've gone through this process, and then we are certain that should we award the contract to any of them, they can actually deliver. This gives us the assurance that that particular lower bidder or the supplier submitting the tender or document to the lower bidder will be able to handle the task we are awarding to them. Another is eliminating the contractors who have limited financial resources or experience. So with pre-qualification, we are able to shortlist suppliers who do not have the financial resource or the capacity to handle our contract, the requirements we'll be needing. Thirdly, we say controlling the number of bidders so the qualified will stay. Pre-qualification also protects the contractors from being awarded a project that they will or they are incapable of performing. And the final importance we have here is speeding the process of the evaluation and the awarding contract. Now, instead of going through a whole process each time you need a particular requirement to shortlist suppliers before finally awarding a contract to the winner, in this case, we've already pre-qualified some suppliers that are capable, that have the competence to carry out this contract. So anytime a need arises, just go to our pre-qualified suppliers and select some suppliers or invite some of these suppliers to come and submit their quotations or tender documents. Doing this speeds up the evaluation process as well as the awarding of the contract. Sample pre-qualification questionnaire. A pre-qualification questionnaire may contain the following information, requesting suppliers to fill and return the questionnaire to organizations. The list we have here is not exhaustive. It's just some information that we may find on a pre-qualification questionnaire. The first we have here is the identification of the supplier or contractor. This has to do with anything that we can use to identify a particular supplier, anything that we can use to know that this particular document is from this particular organization or coming from this particular supplier. So it may include the name of the firm, home address, the fax, and the phone number. Moreover, it tells whether the firm is an individual, partnership, corporation, or a joint venture. Second, we have the supplier contractor performance. So just like in preparing your CV, curriculum vitae, we need to know your past experience, right? So this contractor or supplier performance will contain a list of current construction contracts or goods and services delivered or performed with details. Sometimes recommendations from the owners or of previous projects are also required. We have the suppliers or contractors equipment. We need to know the amount, the quantity, the type, and even the condition of the supplier's equipment before we can award our contract to you. The supplying or construction ability. This is the ability of a contractor or supplier to complete the project or supply the required materials required. So we need to thoroughly investigate the ability of these suppliers or service providers or contractors to successfully and smoothly execute the contract we are awarding to them. Next we have here is the client relationship. This is the ability to work compatibly with the staff of the owner and how cooperative in the field is important. We don't want to award our contract to a supplier who is always having issues with us every day. There is this, we move from this dispute to the other. No. We need to make sure we are compatible with whoever we are entering this relationship with. Finally, we have the certification and waives. At the end of the pre-qualification form, each contractor will be asked to sign and declare the truth of all information. In addition, the owner may ask the contractor to write a waiver of claim and confidentiality. After questionnaires are filled and submitted, the procuring organization screens and assigns scores and weights according to some predetermined scales. So some organizations will use the dimensional weighing to assign importance in the form of values to each criteria or dimension outlined. So we have a sample dimensional weighing here. The X represents the weight of the selection factor and Y as the score of the supplier on that criteria. So the selection criteria we have here, the first one is the experience in completion of projects on schedule. The buying organization is saying that this particular criteria is carrying 60% importance. It has or the supplier's ability to complete a project on time weighs 60% to them. And the Y as the score a particular supplier is scoring on that particular criteria. So the experience in completion of a particular project, you realize supplier A scored 9, supplier B scored 8, and supplier C scored 4. So when we finish, we just multiply the importance, the X by the Y. So multiplying 0.6 times 0.9, we get 5.4. So that is how much a supplier A scored. Then we do the same for supplier B and C. Then we do the same for all other criteria. After everything, we add the total, we get the total, and then whoever has the highest probably wins, or however the organization wishes to award or determine their winner. In this case, we have the award criteria, which we looked at in the previous section. Aside the dimensional weighing, we can also add the two-step pre-qualification. This is when the buying organization initially screens the quality of information and how well questionnaires have been filled before the dimensional weighing strategy is applied. So if a supplier does not fill their questionnaire well, or probably whatever things, then that supplier is out. We should use the two-step pre-qualification to shortlist suppliers, and then the shortlisted suppliers moves on to the dimensional weighing strategy. Supplier exclusion. Suppliers may be excluded from the pre-qualification if information provided is inaccurate or inconsistencies are found in the information they provide. For example, when information identifying the supplier, dates of incorporation, registered business address, and the name are different from what was provided in the questionnaire, then obviously that supplier is excluded from the pre-qualification process. We've not even started the whole process and we don't even trust you because you're not consistent with the information you provide us. In conclusion, we looked at pre-qualification and what it means. We also examined when it is appropriate to use pre-qualification by mentioning that when a contract is technically complex and involves high level of expertise. We also explored the content of a typical pre-qualification questionnaire and how the information may be used to calculate scores. Finally, we examined the circumstances under which a supplier may be excluded. Thank you.